Hi there, everyone. It is Isaac here again. And today I just thought I'd do something a little bit different. We're going to be doing how I think England should line up at Euro 2024. So I've got it written down here, but in a minute I'm going to switch the screen so that we're looking at the actual predicted lineup. I think this could be subject to a lot of change, as we all know. There's still just under a year, 8 months, 7 months, something like, until the actual tournament. So there's a lot of room for change. Players could get injured. We could get some breakout players. Some players could have a massive dip in form, and I just think there's a lot that can change from now until May, June next year that could influence what this lineup looks like. That being said, I've picked 11 players. I've gone for the 4-3-3 as you can see on the screen. But yeah, I've gone for the 11 players, and I will mention a few people that I do think will. I'll go who will my second choice be in each position as well, just to spice it up a little bit, you know. So here we go. We're going to switch it to this screen, and as you can see now on the screen, we've got the lineup. I'm just going to move myself I'm going to make myself a bit smaller. I don't have to do that. Here we go. We'll figure it out. My dog's standing up. I'll move myself over there. There we go. Move myself over there so you can see. So in goal, I think it has to be this man here, in Aaron Ramsdale. I think he's been unreal for Arsenal. I do think he's unlucky not to start. But yeah, I think in terms of Pickford's never put a foot wrong for England, so I don't think it's a case of Pickford's not good enough. I just think Ramsdale is better. So that, I suppose, would make Pickford not good enough. But you get what I'm trying to say. It's not that he's been bad for England to put him out of the squad. I just think Ramsdale could be better. I think Ramsdale's a better keeper overall. I think he's a more modern ball-playing keeper. Arteta doesn't see that side of him, but I think he is perfectly capable of doing that role. And I think Pickford is on his way out of playing in the Prem. I think Everton will get relegated this season, so I think we do have to move towards a more current keeper. Do I think Ramsdale will be at Arsenal at the end of the season? Not really. I think he will have moved on next summer. I think he will be in a new club, or close to joining a new club by the time this tournament kicks off and ends. I think it's not long before we see Ramsdale going abroad, because I don't think there's much space for him at Arsenal anymore. But I do think he could be a good keeper for England. That being said, you would obviously take Pickford and Pope if they're both fit. I would prefer Pope to start over Pickford again, to be honest. But I feel Pickford would be the second choice. Do I think Ramsdale will start? No. I would like him to, but I don't think they will. Anyway, we'll go from left to right. Left back, no arguments against this man, Luke Shaw. Had a rough couple of years, but ever since that Euros, I think he's really stepped up his game. I would honestly say best left back in the Premier League. People are going to say Nathan Ake, but he's not. I don't think he's a left back. This thing winds me up. You know, he does a job there, but that's not his primary position. His primary position is centre back, and quite often they play back three with Kyle Walker or whoever the right back is on the day pushing up a little bit, or one of the centre backs stepping forward like John Stones did a lot of last season, and them coming a back three that way. But I think Luke Shaw is the best left back in the Premier League. I wouldn't say the world. I think Alphonso Davies is probably just a bit better than him. I do think there's others out there that are better than him, but Luke Shaw is definitely the best left back in the Premier League for me, so I don't see why you don't take him. There isn't anything he can't do. I don't think crossing, running, you know, he's a passion merchant, and that's not a bad thing to have in a knockout tournament where you have to be passionate every game. You can't afford to lose. You have to win. So that's something we can look at. So other choices we could have would be, players like Ben Chilwell. I do like him at Chelsea. I think he's getting a bad rap at Chelsea just because of how poorly they're doing, but quite often he is their furthest player forward. I think you could also have Tyrick Mitchell of Crystal Palace. I do really like the look of him. And other than that, there's not many that I would take. You don't really want to take too many, because then obviously Trippier can do that job as well, and I'll get on to him in the right back spot. But there are definitely a lot of options. You could have centre backs. I think the first one is going to be painfully obvious in John Stones. It looked for a while like he was going to be out of the City team. He wasn't really in Pep Guardiola's favour. We'll whack on substitutes as well, because I'll say who I'll take. So Ramsdale would have been Pickford. Luke Shaw would be Chilwell. Yeah, John Stones was out of favour with Pep Guardiola. Just like Joe Hart was, really. I really rated Joe Hart at City. Even as a United fan, I rated Joe Hart, and I think he was really forced out of the club because Pep Guardiola didn't like him, and it looked like John Stones was going to be a similar sort of thing. I saw him linked with Chelsea, Spurs, other top Premier League clubs, but not as big as City were doing, or as well as City were doing, I should say, at that time. But yeah, they forced him out, and they didn't force him out. Sorry, they tried to force him out, but he put up a fight, and he played really well and got himself back into the City team. He's shown how versatile he can be, because he was playing CDM a lot of the time for City last season, or starting off as centre back and pushing forward when they were in possession. But I think he played really well last season, and he's deservedly in an England spot. He's never put himself wrong for England. And there we go. My other centre back before I do the subs has to be Fikayo Tomori. Now, this gentleman has been unreal for AC Milan. Wasn't getting any game time at Chelsea, so took the plunge and moved abroad. Which, and not a lot of these players. There's some coming up that are quite obvious that have done that thing, and I do think Ramsdale will do that. I think I can see Ramsdale going to Spain or Germany in the summer because he just won't get game time. But Tomori took that plunge, and he's consistently the best Serie A defender. He's quick, he's a ball-playing defender, he's confident, he's big, he's physical, he's good in the air. There isn't much that Fikayo Tomori doesn't have, which isn't not a lot you can say about many players in this team, because they're always missing a little bit of something. But there isn't a lot that Fikayo Tomori doesn't have, and you think, he's getting in mid-20s now. If we don't have him playing in this team, by the time Maguire's moved on, by the time people have moved on, we're going to have a generation of players that have got no experience, and we'll be back to where we were in 2018. We did really well in 2018 at the World Cup, but our problem was no experience. We were coming into a team under Gareth Southgate. This is his first World Cup as a manager, and a lot of players' first World Cup as well, or first time playing at the World Cup, and they just couldn't cope, and they just weren't ready for it, which I think could happen again if we don't start integrating players. Anyway, my backup centre backs would be Mark Gahey. I think he's unreal at Palace. I think once John Stones moves away from the England team, maybe retires internationally or retires altogether or just doesn't get picked anymore, I think Gahey is the future. I think Levi Colwill as well can be up there, but I don't think he should be playing that much at this World Cup. He will go, but I don't think he'll be a sub. And, as much as it pains me to say, I do think we should have Maguire at the World Cup. I don't think he should be playing, but I think he should be there. For England, he has rarely put a foot wrong. He has had a couple of blips, but for England, he's been okay. I think this summer he will move away. I think he will go to West Ham or Everton or somewhere like that, and I think that will kickstart what's left of his career. I mean, there's not long left, let's be honest, but for what's left of it, I think he will want to be playing. And I think, as much as it pains me to say, I do think we should take him. I think we will take players like Levi Colwill. I do think we will take Lewis Dunk. I maybe think we'll take Eric Dyer, which isn't particularly, I don't think, good enough backup system. But I do think Maguire should be our fourth choice centre back over Levi Colwill, just because Maguire's got a lot of experience. And, it shouldn't be this way, but he is a good player to have around the team. Right back is Reece James. Now, this one and his sub, as I'll put on in a minute, are completely interchangeable, because Reece James just can't stay fit, and that's his main issue, is he really struggles to stay fit. But yeah, Reece James, unreal for Chelsea, their captain. I think once he comes back, I think they will start playing really well again. I mean, they beat Brighton, and Brighton are a difficult team to beat, as a United fan can attest to, so I think Reece James is a good one. The backup choice, Kieran Trippier, it has to be, really. Not Kyle Walker will be my backup right back. He's really stepped it up at City this season, I feel, and he's become a leader. With Gundogan leaving, they were missing someone in their leadership ranks, and I think Kyle Walker stepped into that really well. I do think we'll take Trippier as well, but I think I think he's going to be playing a lot of games this season. I think with the ages, he's going to be tiring now a bit because he's going to be playing Champions League football. I think they're going to go for. I mean, I don't think they're going to go far in the Carabao Cup because I think we'll beat them in the next round. But I think they'll go far in the FA Cup. I think they'll go round of 16 at the Champions League, maybe quarterfinals, or if they get knocked down to Europa League, I think they'll go to the final. But I think he's a versatile choice. You could play him at right back, you could play him at left back. I even had to think you could play him as a centre back in a back five, like you could Kyle Walker play centre back in a back five. So I think you take him, but he's not first or second choice fullback. Three midfielders, will whack them in simultaneously because I think it only makes sense to do so. Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is my three midfielders. I think these three complement each other really well because Rice and Trent can do a lot of the defensive work. I know Alexander-Arnold's not being really praised for his defensive work, but he can definitely do that. Bellingham can be the more forward-thinking player, and they're all still fairly young. I know Rice is probably the oldest of the three, but they've all got quite a lot of experience behind them. Trent's won a Champions League beat to 3 finals. Rice has just come off the back of a Conference League final, won the Community Shield, and he's playing alright at Arsenal. And Jude Bellingham is ripping up the league. It's looking really easy for him, and I think there's only one game he's not scored in. It was the loss to Madrid, so I think you have to take those three. Backups, I would say for Jude Bellingham, I think Jordan Henderson. Come on, spell his name right, Isaac. Jordan Henderson, although he's at Al Ettifaq, I think he's a brilliant player to have around the team. He gives a lot of experience to the players. I think this will be his last World Cup if he goes, but he's looking so far like a very young team, maybe apart from Stones and Luke Shaw, but it's looking like a very young team. I do feel you have to have some experience in around the squad. Rice's replacement, there is no one else. I think it has to be Calvin Phillips. There's not many other English CDMs. I think you would probably take Jimmy Garner of Everton. I don't think he plays, but I think you would have him in and around the squad because I do think he played really well at the under-21s. I do think you have to look to those as well. Bring in a couple of them that played really well. I do think maybe you bring James Trafford, but he's doing quite poor at Burnley this season, so maybe just give him another tournament with the under-21s to sort of bolster him and see where they go from there. I could see maybe a return to City for James Trafford once Edison moves on, because he was in their academy, so I could see a move back there, but only time will tell. And Calvin Phillips, I think he'll play more at City this season because De Bruyne's got an injury. Rodri's picked up the red, so I think he'll get a couple of games, and I think he played alright against Newcastle. Obviously they lost, but he played okay, and I think in these next couple of games, if he can shine, he'll put himself in Pep Guardiola's plans, and if he can stay injury fit as well, I think he's a good player to have around the team. Other would be Eberici Eze of Crystal Palace. I really like him. I think he's the future of England's midfield, but so is the three that I've got on the screen there, so you can't really say much about that. Other midfielders I would take would be Harvey Elliott of Liverpool. I think he's really good. I would take him. I would take Jimmy Garner, as I've said. I would take Grealish, but he's more attacking. I would take Foden, he's more attacking midfielder. I would take James Maddison, but he's more of a winger for England, I would say. There's a lot of options there, but those would be my three backup players. On the left would be Marcus Rashford. Now again, I'll put in his substitute already because I feel like this could be subject to massive change already. Would be Jack Grealish. I think this completely depends who play. I think both will go. I think it completely depends on who is the better player over the season. Jack Grealish is looking good so far, whereas Rashford hasn't really got himself out of second gear, and I think that's going to be the ruining of him, in that he's not. He's just not got into stride yet, and he's not banging in the goals like he did last season. I think Gareth Southgate will notice and maybe say, you're not starting, you'll come off the bench, you'll be an impact sub, and Jack Grealish, who's been a bit more consistent, will play. But I think those two should go. Other choices for left wing would be maybe Foden, but I think he's better off the right. Maybe Maddison, but I think he's better off the right. Off the left, I'm trying to think who played for the under 21s. I can't think. There's not many others that stand out names I think deserve to be anywhere near starting. The dog's moving again. Starting striker, Harry Kane. There can't be any debate about that. He's at Bayern Munich. This still says Tottenham, but he's at Bayern Munich now, and I think that you can't. There's no argument there. I don't feel like I need to justify that at all. Kane is just Kane at the end of the day. And the substitute, I would like to see Tammy Abraham starting. I think we need to start showing. I'm scrolling too far down there. We need to start showing appreciation to our players that have gone abroad, and I think by doing that we should give Tammy Abraham the second fiddle striker role. I think other choices would be probably Cole Palmer, Ollie Watkins, maybe Callum Wilson, maybe I wouldn't take Danny Ings anymore. There's definitely a couple of options you could take, but I think Tammy Abraham, I just think he does what Kane does, similar styles, but stays forward a lot more, which I think if we're playing Grealish and my right winger, I think will mean we score a lot of goals for our striker. I'm not saying Kane doesn't score, but Kane is a creator and a goal scorer. If we want an out and out goal scorer, I think Tammy Abraham is the way to go. If we're not looking like, if we're playing counter-attacking football, I think Kane is the option. But I think if we're playing in the opposition's defensive third, I do think Tammy Abraham is the way to go, because I think he fits just that little bit better than Kane does. Not by massive amounts, but just that little bit. Hot take, I know, but there we go. My right winger, no debate again, Bukayo Saka. And then my substitute would be James Maddison. Both sides of the North London derby. Maddison can go out on that left, I suppose, but I do think he's better off the right. Both having brilliant starts to their season. Bukayo Saka's playing unreal. James Maddison, to his Tottenham career, is filling the hole that Harry Kane left. Not in the striking way, I suppose, but in the goal scoring and assisting way. He's formed a great partnership with Son already, and it looks like he's going to guide Tottenham to a top 4 finish. I do feel, contrary to what I said in my league predictions, but I do think Tottenham will have a top 4 finish. I think Postecoglou or whatever, and Ball is unreal, and I think James Maddison is perfect for that system, and Bukayo Saka is Arsenal's leading man. He's not their captain, but he is already a leader. He's only 22, 23. He is that leader. So yeah, other right wingers, again, Cole Palmer can play out there, Harvey Elliott can play out there. There's definitely some other options you could take. But yeah, that would be my starting lineup and their second choices. As I've said, there's some other players that I do think could be in with a shout, but that would be my starting team. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Am I a complete idiot? Have I forgot anybody really obvious? Let me know what you think. Let me know what your starting lineups would be, and I'll let me know what else you want me to talk about. I will see you in the next one, and we'll go from there. Yeah, just leave your ideas for videos, please, because I do need ideas. Love you, bye.